Okay guys, so welcome back. So in the last video we talked about variables and assignment statement. Okay, I explained the whole concept behind variables and assignment statement. If you've not actually gone through that, I think I would suggest you go to the previous video, which I'm going to put in the description below of this video. So in this video we will see the demo of it, so I will just have to start up the ID we are working with, which is so I'm just going to start up the ID we are working with. Okay, so let's see. So plateau, it's the ID we've been working with. So let me kick off the ID and then we'll look at what we discussed in the last video. So create a new file. Remember we said it is free format FORTRAN file. We open the file and this is what we have. So as usual, we said whenever you're writing a FORTRAN program, the first thing you should have is the keyword program, then the name of the program. So the name of this program, I'm going to use a couple of examples to illustrate that. Let us say this is about variable naming. So that's going to be this variable. This program was about variable naming. Okay, so I'm going to end program, then the name of the program, which is still variable naming. Remember the syntax, let's not forget it. So within this we are going to have a couple of things. So I'm going to define some variables. So let's say A, and I make A to be equal to 10. Let's say B, and I make B to be equal to this, and let's say age, and I make age to be equal to 100. And let's say number, and I make number to be equal to 20. And let's have another number 1, which is going to be equal to 70. Let's say 70.2. And then I'll have what else should I use? Let's say sum of numbers. Sum of numbers, what am I doing? Sum of numbers, let's say it is A plus B. So these are variable names. These are all valid variable names. So the first one is valid because it begins with an alphabet. The second is valid as an alphabet. The third is valid beginning with an alphabet. The fourth is valid, it begins with an alphabet. The fifth is valid, though it contains a number, but it's not starting with a number, so it's valid. This contains a special character, but it is the only special character we said is allowed in variable names, which is the underscore. So this is also valid. So what is not valid is when you have something like sum of numbers. Okay, when you have something like this, is not a valid variable name. It's not a valid variable name because you can see there's a space. Spaces you have are also special characters, and we said special characters are not allowed. So this space is making it to be invalid. Okay, if you save this and we try to run this, you see that it's going to come up with an error. So let's save it. Okay, where we call these variables .f90. okay, so let's save that. So let's try to run this. So if I build, even trying to build, I think that's going to give me an error. It can see it's giving us an error here. It's saying whatever line 9, that error character 32, what error 32 statement not whatever, it's trying to give us a warning. Okay, so it's trying to give us a warning here on line 9. So this is, I think this is line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, line 6, line 7, line 8, line 9. So this line 9 is giving us a warning here. Also on line 9 there is an error. That's what it's trying to tell us. But if I take this out and then I try to build this, I think this time around it should build successfully. There is no error. So now I can run it. But even if I run this, it's not going to give me any output because I've not asked it to give me an output. So take notes. Those rules we mentioned there, they are very, very, very important. So even if I have something like one number, this is not going to be a valid variable name. I can't do this. It is impossible because it starts with a number, which is 1 in this case. So if you try to build, I think you're still going to get an error. So it's saying label 1 it's I think trying to tell us that label 1 is not defined. It's seeing this as a label, it's not seeing it as a variable name, it's seeing it as a label. So if we try to do anything, it's not actually going to work out. So let's say number 2, number 2, so that it's going to make sense. Okay, so you can see label 1. If I change this to be 10, and see what it's going to give us, it's saying label 10 is not defined. I think that's what it's trying to do there. So there is a compilation error. Okay, compilation failed. So we have to remove that. So you can't, those variables, those rules we have there, they are actually rules that you should always abide to. But there's this last rule we discussed about. So for that rule to make sense, I'm going to write out all these results, print them out, so that you see everything we've written here. I'm just going to print them out to the console, and then I will explain what is actually going on. Okay, so let's start. So remember how we print out things. I can say print, leave a space, then I want to print out A, then I'm going to copy this, do the same thing for B, let's print out B, do the same thing for age, I wonder why I removed that, do the same thing for number, I think that's it, do the same thing for number 1, right, and then I'll do the same thing for the sum of numbers. Hope I know how to spell that. Okay, so here we're expecting a 10, the first line. This is 85, 89, this is going to be 100, this is going to be 200, this is 70 point, this is 20, rather, this is 70.2. Here we're adding this place, which is meant to be 99. Okay, so let's build and let's see what this has for us. So there is no error there, so we can try to start and run. And I'm going to zoom this in so that you guys will see what we have as the output. So let me zoom in a couple more. Okay, so I'm going to reduce this. So you can see the first result is giving us 10.0000. The second is 89 point. This is 100 point. This is giving us 20, and this is giving us 70. Why is that? So let's see. Let's compare these two. So the first, here we have 10, but here we have 10.0. Here we have 89, but here is 89.0. This is 100. This is showing us 100.000. This is 20, but this is showing us just, okay, it's also showing us 20. This is 70.0, 70.2, but this is showing us 70. Here we have 99, but this is showing us 99.0. So a couple of things I need to explain. Remember the last rule of naming variable. We said any variable name that starts with letters between I and N are seen as integers. The ones that start with other letters are seen as float by default. This starts with A, so it's seen as float. So even if you give it 100, it will take it as a floating number, as a number with decimal part, a real number. So it's making it 10.0000. Okay, this is having 89, but it's still taking it as a number with decimal part. So we have 100.000. This is number, so this starts with an N. So remember we said anything between I and N is integer. So this one starts with N. This one starts with N, so it's seen as integer. So 20 is still left as 20. This one starts with N, so it will be seen as integer by default. Though it gave it 70.2, so it will discard this 0.2 because it starts with N. Okay, so it's going to see this as integer and then just give us 70. Instead of 70.2, it's going to give us 70. And this guy, instead of it giving us when you sum of numbers, which is adding these two, instead of 99, it's giving us 99.0000. So if I want to take care of this issue, 70.2, I want it to actually show 70.2 and not 70. What I need to do is to make sure it starts with something that is not between I and N. Or possibly we are going to look at implicit none, which is what we use to override this. So if I go ahead and then I modify it, instead of it to start with N, I say okay, make it arrow, then whatever. So if I run this, but before I run this, I need to change this to be that same arrow. Okay, so let me be done with this, then I will explain a couple of more things that you guys might have questions to. So before you ask the question, let me see if I can answer your questions to some extent before you ask them. So if I run this now, let's see the output we have. Okay, there is an error this time around. They said invalid in variable naming in line 14. So there's an error on line 14. Let's see, where is line 14? Okay, so it is, I don't know if you guys have seen the error, but I've seen it. This is arrow number, so I'm not going to change, I'm not supposed to change this. I'm supposed to change this. I think that's what we have there. So that should work fine now. So I'll rebuild, and then we go ahead and start one. And now let's see the output we have. Okay, so now you can see instead of this, okay, initially it was giving us 70 instead of 70.2, but now it's giving us the 70.2 that we expect from it. Okay, so take note of those things, those tiny little things. They are very, very important. If you want a variable name to be holding decimal parts, you need to make sure it starts with anything that is not between I and N. But once it starts with something between I and N, it's going to be an integer. Even if you give it 20.9999, it's going to take just 20, and then it is not rounding off. It is ignoring the decimal parts, and you don't want it to ignore the decimal parts, so you should take note of that. So that's one. Now, one other thing you guys might have questions to is, why am I using underscore? Okay, those, to some extent we've explained that underscores are the only special characters allowed. But why am I using underscores here in terms of in place of this variable name? I'm using them to show that we have two or more words in the variable name. When you have a variable name that has two or more words, which is a concatenation per se, it's better you use underscore to separate those words. Okay, you can go ahead and still make it like this, just join the words. It's still going to make sense, it's still okay, but it will look as though you're forming a new word. So instead of you doing this, another thing you can possibly do is to use what they call camel casing. So you change the first letter of each other word to be capital letters, apart from the first one. This is called camel casing. We have another convention that we call Pascal casing. In Pascal casing, this also has to be capital letter. So when you have all first characters or all first letter of each words to be capitalized, you call that Pascal casing. But when you have all first letter of each word to be capitalized except the first one, then you call that camel casing. Just look at the structure of a camel. That's what's going on here. You know, that bumpy look and the rest of that. So that's where we're going to end these videos, guys. In the next video, we are going to solve some examples. We'll look at number one, the input statement, how to get input from the user. So it's going to, we are going to use the read statement there. Then number two, we are going to solve a couple of questions, and that's where the fun begins. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.